and I'm being joined by Vishnu Shom right now. Vishnu, some very critical issues before the G20 leaders, some issues that are impacting the world over, from climate change to global security. How critical is this G20 summit when it comes to those issues? What are we really expecting?
Well, I think today is going to be the most important day. Remember, we've been speaking for the last couple of days on whether or not there's going to be a Delhi declaration. There were signs yesterday when Amitabh Kant, India Sherpa, spoke of some progress having been made. The draft document will be given to leaders of the various G20 nations who have arrived and who will be in conversation today. And then hopefully, depending on progress, there will or there will not be a Delhi declaration. But just in terms of what we can expect today, the Prime Minister will be addressing G20 leaders. We'll be cutting live to that. That will be this morning. But at 9:20 this morning, there'll be the arrivals of all the G20 leaders, also the special invitees over here at the Bharat Mandapam. The first session is called One Earth. It's from 10 to about 1:30 in the afternoon, following which there'll be a small gap for meetings. Now, the gap for meetings is important because this is where leaders can actually confer with themselves and perhaps work towards thrashing down the agreement which they hopefully will sign. They then go into session 2, which is called One Family, and then it's again followed by a series of meetings which again would possibly look at cutting down or thrashing down issues. Important to understand that by this stage, all of the leaders would know primarily all the areas which work well for them. So there will be large areas of convergence. I think there is unanimity on financial inclusion. There is unanimity on the need for digitalization perhaps in the future. I think there is a great acceptance on the African Union potentially being part of an expanded G20. The areas of divergence are a couple as well. The language use specifically, as far as climate change is concerned, is an area of concern. America says that China may be raising objections on this, which it shouldn't. And of course, the entire area of Russia and Ukraine. So will the leaders in these moments when they have the opportunity to talk to each other work towards getting these differences out? Because if they do, then tomorrow, a little after 11 or 12 in the afternoon, there would be that big declaration we are hoping for. But coming back to today, 7 p.m. to 9:15 will be dinner hosted by the President of India. So that's where what happens today, and depending on the progress, and I'm sure negotiators, the Sherpas of all sides, have been working tirelessly to try and get that declaration out. Will it actually work out or not? We hope to get some clearer ideas later today, but certainly tomorrow.
Right. Vishnu, in fact, you were mentioning and you were even explaining while you were on your way to the Bharat Mandapam about how India and US talks happened, what did they really speak about. But just looking at what India is expecting out of this, it is a big global moment for India, and India has been pushing itself as a leader to sort of represent the global South, the voice of the global South. And that perhaps is also going to be a big global international moment and a pitch for India and Prime Minister Modi.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big takeaway, and we're fairly certain that it will come through in a fairly major way, is the inclusion of the African Union as part of an expanded G20, number one. And number two, you're quite right when you say that India is looking to be the voice of the global South. This is the entire G20 process, a red letter moment for Indian diplomacy. I mean, there are no two ways of looking at it. The G20 has been made into an all-India effort. We've had sessions from Arunachal Pradesh to Kashmir to the Lakshadweep Islands down south. It's involved any number of people across the country. There has been a sense of involvement. The government has pushed for an all-nation, all-government approach. And these are commendable, because if you are using foreign policy as something which helps to bind the country as well, then I think there has been that effort in actually bringing it all together. Ultimately, it will boil down to whether or not there is that big Delhi declaration. But even without that, because the differences which exist are differences well beyond India's control. The entire issue of Russia and Ukraine, sharp differences between Russia and China and the West as far as the Ukraine war is concerned, these are frankly beyond India's domain. We've chosen a very principled position down the center as far as that conflict is concerned. But despite those differences, whatever does emerge, and even if there is no Delhi declaration, there would certainly be a communique or a president's statement from India being the president this year of the G20, explaining all the areas where the countries have worked together. I think this is also a part of an expanded global recognition of India now. I mean, it's based on our economic prowess. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. In the next couple of years, we should be moving to become the 3rd largest economy in the world. Our foreign policy is now, synonymous with our economic growth. It is increasingly recognized around the world. We serve in this area geopolitically and geostrategically as a counterweight, in a sense, to China. We are a strong military power as well. We have a great number of allies through multiple alliances, which India values very deeply. At the same time, India is entirely non-aligned. In other words, we have outstanding relations with the United States, something that we've seen over here with the visit of President Biden and several agreements yesterday, and also outstanding agreements and arrangements with Russia, which has been a time-tested ally, in between several other countries, France, for example, the United Kingdom, for example, Japan, for example. So all of this plays out as part of Indian foreign policy, which has taken center stage, I would say, as India, a major power in the world, and I think G20 comes to symbolize a lot of that.
Right. Vishnu, it's just the start of the day and you have a very long day ahead. So do so many of our colleagues who are on the ground, Vishnu. But, it's just the start of the day and I have to ask you a lighter question. Amid all of these international relations and big decisions that are going to happen, Vishnu, you've been reporting on the ground on several such international events for a very long time. What do you see is something very different and just stands out as a reporter's eye?
What does stand out is the place I'm in right now. This is the International Media Center. Azam, why don't you show our viewers this enormous hall, and then I'll talk a little bit about it, because in covering international efforts or international gatherings like this around the world, I can tell you that I've never seen anything quite like this.
This is huge,
one gigantic
Vishnu,
hall.
just for a media center. Is
This
just a media center? This is huge by any standards.
No, it's so Sneha, you'd be surprised to know that there is an exact floor the same size, which is essentially an exact replica of this floor, one floor above. So it's 2 floors like this, and you can't even see the areas of which where there's food for journalists. As you know, we journalists are perpetually hungry, which exists. So, and there's no fight for space. There is no fight for anything. There are multiple lounges, huge areas where press conferences can take place. There are upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 journalists, as I'm told, who are over here. So, it's quite easy. The way it's worked out has been fairly seamless. And so for me, on a lighter note, this is what stands out. I think it'll all be worthwhile if there is the Delhi declaration tomorrow.